This is my week 6 wide receiver rankings for fantasy football. And if you listen to me, you might as well get yourself a W because I have the best rankings. For sure, let's get into it. So in my S tier, I'm going with Cooper Kupp. I don't really need any explanation for this. This guy is, you should have picked him in the first round, first pick in every draft. He is a matchup destroyer. Doesn't matter the matchup. He always puts up numbers. 14 plus points in every single game this season. Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp still have the connection. This guy will probably win fantasy MVP and the Triple Crown again. And number 2 in my S tier, this might come as a big surprise to a lot of you, but Marquise Brown, yes, the Cardinals wide receiver. I called it last week that he would be a must-start, and I proved everyone right. I'm very bullish on Marquise Brown. Until DeAndre Hopkins returns, he's the 5th highest-scoring wide receiver right now on the season and has a matchup I really like. Seahawks give up 30 points per game, and Marquise Brown has 3 of the 6 receiving touchdowns for the Cardinals. He also has the 3rd most targets in the league, only behind Jettas and Cooper Kupp. So ride the Hollywood train until Hopkins returns. He is a great play every week. At number 3, who you thought I would pick for number 2, Justin Jefferson. This dude's amazing this season. He leads the league in receiving yards. And the only reason he's not number 2 is because of the matchup. With the Dolphins having a possible 3rd-string QB in Skylar Thompson, this game could get out of hand very quickly. And I know the offense runs through Justin Jefferson, but when the Vikings go up, they usually tend to get very passive, very run-heavy to try to kill the clock. And this is something I know they do because I've been watching them for years. So easily, Justin Jefferson could put up a lot of points in the first half, but by the second half, they might just forget him altogether. But yeah, no, he's a great play every week, obviously. Must start. Another guy masked here, we got Stefon Diggs. This is the matchup he's been waiting for all year. You remember that epic picture that we saw where Stefon Diggs losing the conference championship game, looking at the Chiefs as they won, heading to the Super Bowl? Yeah, this is what he's been waiting for all year. This was circled on his calendar, and he's ready to perform. And I know the last 2 games that the Chiefs and Bills played, Stefon Diggs was a dud. He didn't do much. Gabe Davis stole the show, 4 touchdowns, 200 plus yards. But I have a feeling Stefon Diggs will have to perform for the Bills to win in order for just his ego in general. This is something that he wants really bad and something he will get. And the Bills offense is just insane. This will be a high scoring affair. Must start Stefon Diggs. And the final guy in my S tier is Mike Evans. I was wrong on him last week. He performed pretty poorly against the Falcons, but I think this week against the Steelers, he might actually do good. Stefon Diggs, 20 points last week. Gabe Davis, 30 points last week. Amari Cooper had 20 points against him. Nelson Aguilar, 20 points against him. This is probably one of the easiest wide receiver matchups Mike Evans will get all year, and for all wide receivers, start everybody against the Steelers. They are just an awful team right now without TJ Watt. Moving on to my A tier, I got DK Metcalf. Geno the GOAT is a baller, and he's taking his wide receiver core with him, especially DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf has got 14 plus points 2 weeks in a row now. The Cardinals are a low-key hard defense for stars in fantasy football. Cooper Kupp had his lowest performance against them. A.J. Brown had less than 8 points, but something tells me the Seahawks will win this week. After the Cardinals came off a hard and emotional, devastating loss against the Eagles, they're a team that are down bad right now, and Geno and DK are going to take advantage of that very easily. Next in my A tier, I got Tyreek Hill. Even with a 3rd-string QB possibly in Skylar Thompson, I still see him performing very well. Mike McDaniel is smart enough to orchestrate plays to get his most dangerous weapon the ball. Whether it's jet sweeps or little screens to Tyreek Hill, he can get him the ball very easily. He's a genius with that. And Vikings secondary are going to struggle against Tyreek Hill. He's just so quick, dynamic as a player, and the Vikings just don't have a great secondary, especially at the cornerback position. And Vikings also play a lot of soft coverage, meaning they will give you the underneath routes all day long just to not prevent the big deep bomb to Tyreek Hill. So yes, he will get a lot of receptions and maybe not a touchdown this game, but I'll say he's definitely a great start this week. Also, my ATR got A.J. Brown again this week. I was wrong on him again last week. He only had 4.7 points in Arizona, but in a crucial matchup with a division rival Cowboys, he has to perform. And Trayvon Diggs got torched last week against Cooper Kupp, led over 100 plus yards to him. And I think he's ready to get all the burners again, get his ass on the grill because A.J. Brown is coming to play. He's a bigger wide receiver. Mike Evans had a great matchup against Trayvon Diggs and exposed him. And I think A.J. Brown, with his size, will have the same success against Trayvon Diggs. Also, my A tier, if he plays, Michael Thomas is a great play. When healthy, he plays amazing, and it's likely he will return this week against the Bengals. Bengals are a top 10 defense as of now, but have been up and down when it comes to wide receiver ones. Tyreek Hill had 10 receptions, 160 yards, 7 receptions, 75 yards for Ceedee Lamb, and 7 receptions, 55 yards for Diontae Johnson. Michael Thomas proved he was an elite wide receiver with 15 points in week 2 and 20 points in week 1, so he's a must start for me. Rounding off my A tier, this is the last guy. It's Mike Williams, 120 plus yards in back-to-back games. He is Justin Herbert's favorite target right now with Keenan Allen out. And he's probably the most dangerous deep threat in the league. He has the most contested catches in the league with 9. And even with the Broncos' elite defense and the great secondary and Patrick Surtain, I expect Mike Williams to do his thing. But if Keenan Allen plays, this is the thing. If Keenan Allen plays, Mike Williams is not in my A tier. I will demote him to B tier because obviously Keenan Allen will take away a bulk of the targets. And with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams is pretty much a boom or a bust guy. That's what we've seen from him. So I don't know. Hopefully Keenan Allen comes back. Hopefully not. We'll see. Now moving on to the B tier. These guys are obviously great wide receivers. I would say they're wide receiver 2s this week and not wide receiver 1s, but have the potential to be. So to start off, I got Jamarr Chase. Last week, New Orleans got shredded by Geno Smith, and it allowed Tyler Lockett to get 24.9 points and DK to get 15. The week before, Justin Jefferson also had 26 points. This defense is very good, but an elite wide receiver like Jamarr Chase is going to make plays, and I think he will. And I know he struggled in the last 4 weeks, straight duds, but I think this is the week where he will have to boom, or fantasy owners, you should look to probably trade him and get rid of him while you can. Next in my B tier, I got Michael Pittman Jr. The Colts will face the Jaguars in week 2. They got blown out 24-0, and the difference in that game was Michael Pittman was not available. And he's playing now, and I think that will make a huge difference. And I really don't have too much data for this because the Jaguars are a really confusing team. I mean, they did great against the Chargers. They blew them out, lost to the Eagles in devastating fashion. They just had a terrible performance against a division rival Texans, so I really don't know where this team is heading. This game will show its true colors, I believe. And another wide receiver that performed really good in that same game is Christian Kirk. 22.80 points against the Colts in week 2. I mean, the Jaguars are not at home, but I think he should still find success again. Christian Kirk lines up in the slot 65% of the time, so he will go against slot receivers and linebackers covering across the middle of the field, and he's just too quick for them, I believe. And, I mean, he won't have to face the likes of Stephon Gilmore, so that's the thing I'm trying to get at. And the Colts have been 0-2-1 when it comes against their division rivals, so I think they might struggle again this week. We'll see. Also, my B tier might be lower than people expected, but I got Deebo Samuel. Deebo hasn't been bad by any means, but his volume has diminished a lot. I mean, week 5 last year, he had 52 receptions, and at this point this season, he has 37. He also isn't rushing that much anymore. He has 21 carries on the season, but in the last 5 weeks of the season, he had 32 carries. He hasn't been worse. He's still a brute as a runner, great after the catch, hard to bring down, but it's hard to sit a guy like Deebo. With an offense like this, they switch game plans every week, and you never know where they're going to run the ball through. I mean, Jeff Wilson has been that guy, and I'm pretty sure this week they will pretty much impose their will on the Falcons by running the ball down their throats. I just don't see Deebo in this game plan once again. And now rounding off this B tier, I'm going to have to go with Courtland Sutton. He's been a pretty consistent wide receiver so far. I would honestly have him higher because I see the Broncos being forced to actually play some offense this week against the Chargers offense that is pretty hot right now. But with the recent news of Wilson's injury, I'm a little concerned about his injury, and given it left out Dak for a whole month, one big hit could sideline Wilson for the whole game, and Brett Wright being their backup, I don't think will perform well given that this offense is one of the worst in the league right now. So we'll see. Now, moving on to the C tier wide receivers, honestly, these guys have so much potential this week, but I think the guys ahead of them are just, I don't know, I'm just going to play it safe with these C tier guys, but there are a lot of them that could honestly have wide receiver 1 potential, wide receiver 2. I mean, these are wide receiver 2s, even flex plays. But yeah, these are some good wide receivers that you could easily start on your team. First, I'm going to start with Tyler Lockett. He had 24 points against the Saints last week. So like I said, with DK Metcalf, Geno and this offense has been performing at a very high level, and Tyler Lockett has been a beneficiary of that. Honestly, Tyler Lockett could overplay DK Metcalf this week like he has the last couple weeks, but I think like DK Metcalf is just the easier matchup to say. I'm going to play it safe with Tyler Lockett, but yeah, he's a great play this week. Start him. Next in the C tier, I got T. Higgins, Chris Godwin, Ceedee Lamb, and Gabe Davis. With Chris Godwin, I mean, you saw what happened to the Steelers last week against the Bills. The Buccaneers are not afraid to throw the ball. They're one of the most pass-heavy teams in the league right now, and I think Chris Godwin could be a great beneficiary of this. I mean, the Buccaneers are not a team that will go easy on you once the score is up. Tom Brady's going to throw the ball until the game hits 0. Next, we have Ceedee Lamb, and he didn't perform really well last week against the Rams and Jalen Ramsey in general, but this Eagles defense, I think, is even better than the Rams, given that Darius Slay has been playing at a very high level. Their second cornerback is James Bradbury, who's also very good. Their defense's coverage is very great this season. Their linebackers have been great in coverage. His defense is just great in general. The pass rush is going to throw Cooper Rush off. I just don't see Ceedee Lamb having a big game. Also, my C tier, Gabe Davis. Obviously, Gabe Davis had an incredible game last week against the Chiefs. Obviously, he had 4 touchdowns, 200-plus yards, amazing stats. But I just don't think the Chiefs will get picked apart like they did last time by Gabe Davis. I mean, he could have another breakout game. Who knows? But I would play it safe and put him in the C tier right now. He's a great flex play, honestly, so I'll give it that. And these next 4 guys also are going to round off the C tier. I got Keenan Allen, if he plays, Terry McLaurin, Amari Cooper, and Chris Olave. I mean, Keenan Allen, when he plays, is Justin Herbert's favorite target, but I'm a little hesitant on playing him just against the Broncos' elite defense, like I said, and he's coming back from an injury, and I just would play it safe, honestly. I don't think he will play, but if he does, be very cautious of that. And next I got Terry McLaurin, who has been also pretty consistent this year, but this Commanders offense is also just very poor in general. And against the Bears, who are a pretty decent defense against wide receivers, I don't know, it just doesn't look like a good matchup for Terry McLaurin. And next is Amari Cooper, who has been performing really well at home. It's only when he's away that he performs pretty bad. So they're at home again against the Patriots, who have a great defense. I mean, they put the Lions out 29-0. They shut them out, which was the number one scoring offense. But they have a great secondary. I mean, Jack Jones, the rookie, has been playing great. Devin McCourty in the backfield playing great. It's a hard matchup, but I mean, he's been playing good at home. That's what I'm saying. He's a safe C tier guy, flex him, but I don't know. There's a couple of guys I would definitely start over him, obviously. And rounding out that C tier, I got Chris Olave. If he plays, I mean, last week you saw him going out with that brutal head injury. With the new concussion protocol, I really don't think he will play. But if he does, he's a great flex play this week. I mean, the Saints love him. He's getting a lot of targets. I think even more than Michael Thomas. So, yeah, he's a great receiver. And now moving on to the bottom of the bottom, the D tier, I have Jaylen Waddle, Drake London, Alan Lazard, Adam Thielen, Diontae Johnson. With Jaylen Waddle, he hasn't been really doing great these last 2 weeks, below 10 points in each game. I think a total of 10 points in the last 2 games combined. And it's because of no Tua back there. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater hasn't found the connection with him, and Skylar Thompson is just, no, they're not working well with him. Either way, Jaylen Waddle just doesn't, the way he's been performing the last 2 weeks with these quarterbacks, it doesn't look like it will change this week. And with the way this game will go out against the 4-1 Vikings, I just don't feel like Jaylen Waddle will have himself a game against this team. And next I got Drake London, a guy I really like in certain matchups. But against the 49ers, which is the #1 defense in the NFL, the matchups could not get any worse. I mean, he had the Buccaneers last week, the 49ers this week. Hopefully he has a better schedule moving on. But yeah, this is an awful game for him. The 49ers have been on fire this season. I mean, I know one of their cornerbacks just went down with ACL injury after the season, but still, they are just so good right now. Marcus Mariota will be very cautious to throw the ball with Nick Bosa on his face. This is just a stout defense. So, horrible match for Drake London. I'm sorry. Next, we got Alan Lazard. I mean, the Packers' offense, passing-wise, has been pretty bad recently. I mean, you don't know who's going to be the wide receiver one this week. Last week it was Randall Cobb. This week it's Romeo Doubs. Next week it's Alan Lazard. It's just really, there's no true wide receiver one for this team. Next we got Adam Thielen, who has been pretty lost on this offense. Kevin O'Connell just doesn't get him as involved as Justin Jefferson does. Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook, they are the focal points of the offense, and Adam Thielen is simply just a blur, honestly. He gets the ball when he's open. He makes great plays. He doesn't drop the ball much, but he doesn't get the opportunities or volume that he had in the last recent years, so I would just not start him in this matchup against a team that could pretty much let go of the whole passing situation by a halftime. And finally, rounding off this D tier, I got Diontae Johnson. I guess you could put George Pickens right next to him if you really wanted to, which I think these are the 2 stud wide receivers for this team. I mean, this offense is pretty much awful. And against the Buccaneers, they will have to pass a lot, but obviously last week they only put up 3 points against the Bills, and I see the Bucs do then probably much the same thing against them. This team at Matt Canada calling the offense has been pretty much awful. Yeah, they're one of the worst teams in the league right now. I feel so bad for the fans. Yeah. And these are my wide receiver rankings for week 6 of the NFL football season. So yeah, if you have any questions, put it in the comments below. And then click this video wherever it is on the side to see my running back rankings, because I got something you will want to know.